And you can follow her on Instagram, Charlotte Native Realty, where she shares all of her success stories with her clients, home buyers, sellers, all of that stuff. And there was something I was gonna say, um, but I forgot. So I want to thank you for joining me, Miss Miranda, taking the time out. I know you got the kids
Absolutely.
there, husband, locked down, everybody locked down.
Yes. Thank you for having me. And I'm
Yep,
not sure if you can hear my kids in the background, but they are
I hear
just
them.
next door.
Yes,
Okay.
sounds delightful.
Yeah.
Um, oh, first, before we get into this, when you helped me sell my house a couple
Mhm.
years ago, I don't know if you remember all of the stuff. I know you done a lot, but on a scale of 1 to 10, one being the easy as far as me dealing with me and my stress levels in that process, and 10 being difficult, where would you rate me if you can remember?
With 10 being difficult?
10 being difficult, one being easy. Where would you
No,
rate me?
I think that selling your house was probably one of the smoothest sales that I've had, to be
Okay.
honest with you. Yeah, there are just a host of things that can happen and challenge you in a real estate transaction, and we really didn't have a whole lot of that. So I think we had a few offers on your house, which was great. You sold your house at the exact right time. It was the height of the real estate market. So I wouldn't say that that was one of my most challenging listings. It went pretty smooth.
Okay, good. All right, so let's jump into it. How long have you been in the real estate game?
This is my fifth year in real estate.
Okay.
This is my fifth year. A friend of mine calls me a legacy realtor because my dad was in real estate for 30 years here in Charlotte. So I am a Charlotte native, hence the name of my real estate company. So I've been in myself for 5 years, but I feel like I knew a lot about the industry because of what my dad did.
Okay, cool. And you've been in Charlotte, like you born and raised here, right?
Born and
I'm born and
raised.
raised. I've seen a lot in Charlotte over 20 years. It's exploded. So I could just imagine what you've seen over your lifetime here in
Mhm.
Charlotte. What's your favorite part of the real estate game?
My favorite part of the real estate game is the people. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love houses. I love new construction. I love walking through a new house. Definitely one of my favorite things. But helping people is the main thing, and that's just because I've been blessed to help people in just a host of different situations. Some people just had a lot of equity in their house and they just wanted their money. They wanted to sell their house to get their equity and do with that money whatever they wanted to do. And some people wanted to buy a house because it was their first home. And, a lot of the people that I work with, not only is it their first home, it's the first home for their family. I work with a lot of first generation homeowners, which is very satisfying and awesome. And but then I'm also able to help people who are in challenging times, who have to sell their home, right? So I just enjoy being able to help, no matter what your situation is. So people are kind of my thing. So helping people is my favorite.
Okay, cool. Um, I thought you were gonna say the money was part of your favorite part of it, but that's
Well,
cool.
now don't get me wrong, I wouldn't do it for free. So let me let me be clear.
Okay.
Definitely not at all sell real estate for free because, like I said, there are it can be challenging at times, but enjoy the challenges in real estate. It's exhilarating getting the deal for your client. Like for me, it is. That's my thing. Is I love negotiating, and the company I work for. One of the pillars of the company I work for is that it's a win-win or no deal. Well, win-win doesn't mean that I'm not advocating for my clients at the highest level.
Right.
So but even when you advocate for your clients at the highest level, you can still play nice in the sandbox, and I pride myself on doing that.
Okay, good. Good. Now, you said I sold my house at the height of the real estate market, and I know there were a lot of people were talking about getting into real estate and being
Mhm.
realtors and all that stuff. Is there still a high demand for realtors, or if people, is it flooded? Is it how is it as being a realtor and seeing all these people come into the game?
It's right. So the real estate space in Charlotte and just nationwide is saturated.
Hmm.
There are a lot of people that are interested in becoming realtors because let's face it, there are low barriers to entry. Becoming a real estate agent, you don't have to have a degree. You don't have to have any specialized training other than going to real estate school,
Hmm.
right? So you pay your money, you go to real estate school, you pass the class, you get your license by passing the state test, and then you go and hang your license with a real estate firm. You are then a realtor, right? um, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you know how to sell real estate, right? So you've got to go to a company and you've got to get into some training that actually teaches you how to sell real estate. some sort of business acumen if you're not coming into the industry with business acumen, and that sort of thing. So right now in Charlotte, I would say that we are oversaturated with realtors. Now, the good thing is there's enough real estate business to go around. So even with the oversaturation, those of us that are out here doing it every day as our full-time job, there's definitely enough business for us to sustain ourselves, to not only survive, but to thrive in real estate. So, you know, I don't see the oversaturation as being an issue.
So
I do think that right now that we're, sorry to cut you off.
no,
I think that right now that we're in a bit of a transition, especially my friends and family members that are in retail positions and in hospitality management, restaurant jobs right now, as they're seeing, you know, changes in their income and, you know, possibly not working at this time. It is a good time to consider real estate, right? Because like I said, there's never a lack of real estate business to do, right? So again, it's a great industry to get into, low barriers to entry, all those reasons that it's oversaturated is a great reason for people who may be out of work right now to consider it.
Okay. Well, so there's no competition, like y'all don't be like going at each other's throats and all that.
I don't go at anybody's throat. 95% of my business, if not closer to like 98% of my business, comes from people that I know. Because I think that, you know, my job is to make sure that everyone that I know knows that I sell real estate and that I do it well, right? And that they would be making the wrong choice to not choose me as their realtor, right? So I take my marketing very seriously. I take my online presence, my social media, I take all that stuff very seriously. And I want to make sure that if you click on Miranda, you may find that there's something funny out there, but before you click too long, within 2 clicks, you know that I sell real estate and that I do it well. So yeah, the competition is real. However, you don't have to compete for the people that, you shouldn't have to compete for the people that are in your own sphere of influence. That's what I believe. So if you take good care of the people that are in your sphere of influence, make sure that they know that you sell real estate and that you do it well. You shouldn't ever have to hunt for real estate business. It should be there for you.
Cool. That's awesome. So you briefly touched on it with, you know, the economy going the way it is with this pandemic, the coronavirus. How do you see that having an effect on the market, or will it?
Yes, it is definitely having an effect. I don't know how far into that you want me to go. In Mecklenburg County, the biggest effect is that so we're under a statewide stay-at-home order, right? Before the statewide order, Mecklenburg County, which is where I live, they issued their own order, which had different stipulations for different industries. Okay. So if you were in real estate, and again, tell me if I'm getting way too far into this.
No, go ahead.
So if you were in real estate, like the brokerage business, like I am, then it was pretty much like you cannot go into someone else's house. You can't show homes and that sort of thing. Luckily, they pulled that back a little bit, but even now we can still only show vacant homes. Okay. So unless a home is under contract, we can't set foot in an occupied residence. Well, that definitely changed the industry because real estate has always been a belly-to-belly, face-to-face type of industry. Now we've pretty much gone, I would say 90% virtual. I'm doing virtual buyer consultations, which for the life of me, I don't know why I didn't always do that. It is so much more efficient. So I'm doing the virtual buyer consultations. However, before this began, I wouldn't have even considered a virtual listing presentation. I just assumed I needed to be in your house in order to list your house. Well, what I've found is that is not true. Now that we've got Zoom and some of the other platforms, I don't have to be in your house. And, you know, quite frankly, as a homeowner, I don't know why we've always been okay with letting people in our houses. Like, this is actually a pretty okay way to do business, and it's safe, it's sterile, and it's working well. So that's the number one change that's happened, is that real estate has gone from an in-person business to mainly a virtual business. And the realtors like myself who are willing to embrace that change and even carry that change forward, even once they take the reins off of us, I think we're the ones that are going to thrive, because this is a new day and it's a new era. Now, economically, what has happened is that the people that were interested in selling and the people that were interested in buying a home have kind of stepped back, because they are afraid of what's going on, whether it's an interruption in their income, whether it's what's going to happen to the stock market, what's going to happen to the value of my home. People have stepped back. The people who have stepped up are the motivated, the people who have to buy a home because they want their children in a specific school district and they're not in a position to rent, maybe because of the makeup of their family. And renting becomes more and more expensive the more people you have in your home and the more people you need to accommodate. So those people have to buy, and then there are people who have to sell, the motivated to sell. If you were planning to move out of the state of North Carolina, you're probably still planning to do that. If you've got to move back home to take care of elderly parents, you still need to do that. Or again, if you're moving because of the school district, you still need to do that. So for me, a lot of the people I did business with before were just interested in real estate. They were interested in buying, interested in selling. I still have those people in my pipeline. However, the people that have kind of risen to the top are the people that are motivated to do business.
So do you think it'll become more of a buyer's or seller's market in the next few months?
So Charlotte's been in a strong seller's market for probably the past 7 to 8 years. I think that we're still in a very strong seller's market. We still don't have a lot of inventory on the market to sell. And part of that, again, is because people have gotten a little scared and they're scared to list their home right now. Some people. So we still have a shortage of homes as it stands. I think that the impact of coronavirus is going to be that when the stay-at-home order is lifted or relaxed in Mecklenburg County and across the state, we're going to see an influx of listings. We're going to see people who were waiting for this to pass. They will all list their homes at the same time, probably around the 1st of May is what we're thinking. And honestly, I'm telling people that are interested in selling right now and motivated to sell, you need to get your house on the market before the beginning of May, because at that point, I think that we could possibly see a more balanced market than what we've had. A balanced market meaning the same number of homes listed as there are buyers to buy them. And the impact that that's going to have on home values is that before you could kind of write your own ticket. When you listed your house, we could, in that neighborhood, we could just kind of write our ticket for what we wanted people to pay for the house, and they gladly paid it. What that means going forward is that we are going to start to see that people are going to lose a little bit of equity in their home. The question is, how much is it going to be? And how fast is it going to happen? So I definitely don't think it's 2008 coming again. We're not going to see a whole bunch of foreclosures and short sales, because I think people do have equity in their homes. So it would be silly and foolish not to just sell the home instead of giving it to the bank.
Right.
However, I do think that it'll have an impact. We just don't know the dollar amount. So what I'm telling people is, what we know is that the market is not going up from here. So best case scenario, it stays where it is.
Right.
But worst case scenario, we're probably headed into a little bit of a slip from where we are.
Okay, that makes sense. And then another thing to that is we don't know how long it's gonna last. Like
Exactly.
What do you like better, selling or buying?
As far as representing sellers or buyers?
Yeah.
Sellers. I think that yes. I love helping people buy homes, and there's just nothing better than seeing a person walk in the house and have that moment where the home takes their breath away because they're starting to imagine themselves living in the house. That is fantastic. Love it. However, what I love more than anything is my sign in front of the house. that makes me happy. Give me one quick second. It is not the Rona, but the allergies are going to make me cough. Hold on one second.
No, go ahead. Do your thing. Disclaimers, not the Rona.
Sorry. Not the Rona. I've had allergies all my life.
All right. Since you talk about selling, what do people, if somebody's looking to sell the house, what do they need to have in place before they even come and contact you?
So if someone's ready to sell their home, then what's best is if they can go ahead and grab their last mortgage statement that should have how much they have left to pay on the mortgage. So basically the payoff amount. If they still have their, any tax records that they have as far as like taxes that have been paid, HOA bylaws, if they have a copy of that, if they're in a neighborhood that has an HOA, HOA amount that they're paying, that sort of thing. Definitely need to secure an extra key so that people can access the home. And that's about it. If they, because I'm gonna pull information myself. Like, I'm going to pull your deed to see who's on the deed and all that kind of stuff. So I'll be doing my own research there. And then also the other thing that's necessary for sellers, and I think this catches people by surprise, in North Carolina, if you are legally married, doesn't matter how long you've been separated from your spouse. If you're legally married, then your spouse has to sign in order for you to sell your home. So for my people who were married at one time and are no longer married, I also ask them to have a copy of their divorce decree, just in case, because sometimes things aren't recorded properly, and attorneys ask you for those documents to prove that you are indeed divorced.
So even if they have the documents, they still both have to sign off on the selling of that?
No, if you're divorced, then you do not.
Okay.
You do not. However, there are a lot who have been separated for a long time, almost forgot you were married, right. but the courthouse didn't forget you were married. So what happens during the title search is that they search every iteration of your name. They search, all marriage records, divorce records, death records, judgment records. They search everything to make sure that you are who you say you are, and that you do have a legal right to sell the home. So if you have been separated for 20 years and don't even know where your spouse is, you would have to find them so that they could sign off to sell your house. And again, I don't know, because I don't know any other laws other than South Carolina, but I don't know how it is in other states, but I've definitely had people from other states tell me that is crazy and that it doesn't work that way.
Do you run into that like often?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And a lot of times I run into it not so much with someone selling their own home, but it's usually someone selling like an estate, like their deceased parents' home. And then maybe there are multiple heirs, like that parent had 3 children, and you've got, 2 of the kids are married and 1 kid is married, but the husband is in, somewhere else incarcerated or whatever. It's just, I've seen it all. Wow. I really think I've seen it all. But at the end of the day, everybody has to sign, and there's no exception for that.
Wow. Okay. So let's look at it on the other side. What do buyers need to have in place before they come to you?
A pre-approval would be great. No, but seriously, that's probably the most important thing that a buyer can do, is to go ahead and certainly reach out. You can reach out to me first, especially if you need to be
pointed in the right direction.
A recommendation, exactly, right, for a lender, then I can certainly do that. It's very hard to move forward in the home buying process without a pre-approval. So it is truly the first step. So once you have that, then we're ready to talk about exactly what kind of house you're looking for. Why do you want to buy the house? Is it schools? Is it, what's the motivation for you? But yeah, that pre-approval is the main thing. And then the other thing is money, right? It seems kind of, it seems like that should be a well-known factor, but it really isn't. There really has to be some consideration that you're able to offer on your own. And a lot of people think that down payment assistance or 100% financing programs will allow them to purchase a home without any money down. And the reality is, as I put my phone on vibrate, the reality is that there's money that's due on a house, on a contract, at the time that you make the offer. Okay. So in North Carolina, there's money that's due, right? So you've got due diligence fee, you've got earnest money. And those monies aren't financed into your loan. Those are monies that you actually pay up front to go under contract on a home. So I do tell people, depending on your price point, you want to have about 1%, at least about 1% of whatever your price point is. You want to have that saved and put aside for the transaction.
Okay. All right. So what catches most buyers off guard? What are they shocked at when they see or when they hear about?
Yeah, I think that that's a loaded question. In North Carolina, they're most shocked by the due diligence fee. And the due diligence fee is the money that you actually, as a buyer, it's the money that you put down on the contract as a deposit to the seller, so that you can do your due diligence on the house. Basically, Mr. Seller, take your house off the market while we're under contract so that I can do my due diligence of inspections, appraisals, and all the things that I need to do to ensure that this is a good investment for me. The part that shocks buyers is that money that is given to the seller up front is non-refundable. So it's a deposit. If you close, then it's a deposit and you get it back at closing. If you don't, then that's the seller's liquidated damages for the time they took their house off the market. So I usually have to spend a fair amount of time explaining that to buyers, because that's a North Carolina thing. And, honestly, it protects the sellers.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I knew a girl who maybe a year ago, she got pre-approved for a house. Her loan amount she told me was like $260,000. She got approved for that. Now, if somebody comes to you and say they got approved for this amount, what do you recommend they stay in that range? What range do you recommend they stay in? Like, if they got approved for this certain amount, should they go and get that amount? Like, should that be where they look for?
Well, see, and so that's what I talk about in my buyer consultation, right? So it's very important that we know what your budget is. The next step is exactly what are you looking for? Okay, because if we take that 260 and let's make it 360. Let's say your budget is 360 or 400,000, but all you're looking for is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. Well, you don't have to spend $400,000 for a 3-bed, 2-bath house with a 2-car garage. You can probably find that for $260. You could probably find that, depending on what side of town you want to live on, for much less than that. So a lot of times people hear their pre-approval amount and they go straight to that and want to work down from that. What I implore buyers to do is let's define what you're looking for and work up from there. Okay, because it makes a lot more sense honestly, if all you're looking for is 3 beds, 2 baths, 2.5 baths, let's go ahead and find that house at 250, 275 versus taking you all the way up to 400. If you're not looking for a 5 to 6 bedroom house, then, let's get exactly what you're looking for versus starting at 400 and working our way down.
Makes sense.
Again, a hard conversation have sometimes once people see what the highest and best is, because I think it's just in our nature to want to go, to the highest and best.
Yeah, that makes sense. I know I wouldn't want to overextend myself by trying to do something I can't, going to get what you need, what you want. It's always a better plan. Ms. Miranda, I want to thank you for joining me, taking the time out your busy weekend, family and virtual consultations that sounds convenient. Like, to me,
it is.
Time,
it's the
money.
best, and you can get more in. That's the thing. It's like if you're doing physical meetings where you're actually having to go and see people, then there's only a certain amount that you can get done. If I can do all my consultations sitting right here, then I can kind of knock them out back to back.
That's what's up. So what's the best way for somebody to get in contact with you?
The best way to get in contact with me is to call me. You can call or text me at 704-408-8171, or you can email me at Miranda Solomon, and it's SOLOMON @kw.com. I do have a website, charlottenativerealty.com. And then again, on Instagram, I am Charlotte_native_realty. And on Facebook, I'm Miranda Acree Solomon. So yeah, any of those channels, I monitor them all. So I'd love to talk to you.
Okay, cool. I want to thank you for joining us. And hopefully in the next year, I'll be looking to buy my house. So hopefully you can help me out with that.
Absolutely.
Ms. Miranda, thank you again.